Bueno, lo que les estaba diciendo, que cuesta mucho ser auténtica, señora. Y en estas cosas no hay que ser rácana, porque una es más auténtica, cuanto más se parece a lo que ha soñado de sí misma.
And that was a clip from 1998's All About My Mother, directed by Pedro Almodovar. This is Movies the Podcast. I'm Brenda.
I'm Rob.
I'm Jordan.
Dan.
Stay away from the mic, Dan.
I'm going to be mediating or moderating today, so I will do my best to stay close to the mic and keep the ums at a minimum.
And there goes the first one. Let's keep track.
Dang it. I just put myself in that position. Anyways, before we start off, we are a man down for good reason. Our beloved Curtis is in France right now,
He's
celebrating
a
his
man?
birthday.
Curtis is a man?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Big shocker.
I got to rethink his birthday present.
I mean, that's why tonight's podcast can be even less gay.
We put Brenda in charge to lower the feminine energy.
To make it more butch. Thank you.
Well,
But big happy birthday to Curtis.
yeah, big happy birthday to you. He's currently in Paris enjoying beautiful Paris men that he's been twatting about, or whatever you call it.
Instagramming or whatever.
He's going to get arrested. I've been watching Interpol just to make sure there hasn't been an international incident.
Oh, there he is. Hashtag.
Okay, so now let's catch up. What's the latest things you guys have been watching or
Your
whatnot?
homework this week has been so much. So I've been watching all these foreign films, and
I am a slave driver.
I did get a chance to slip in that 1997. I think that was 97. Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones. I needed something in between all these foreign films I'm watching.
That would be the opposite of a foreign film. Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche as the romantic lead.
There's barely like you can
'Cause
see they
it's Anne
tried.
Heche and Tommy
They
Lee
tried
Jones.
where she's like, oh, just rubbing his hands, and he's just like, nope, not playing along with you. But overall, as a disaster movie, it held up pretty well.
It's one of those movies that when it's on TBS on a Saturday afternoon and you just have like nothing to watch, like I will
You're like,
watch
whatever.
the end of it. Yeah.
When you're too lazy to change the channel, why not?
97, yeah.
I had fun. The only thing that I thought was hilarious is that Don Cheadle's in it, and it's just such a silly role for him. But the whole movie's racially charged. Like, it's about how the white cop is harassing all the black people, and then in the end they come together and save the day, and it's like
So cheesy. Oh my god.
That reminds me of something that my sister and I were talking about that year. Didn't another volcano erupting movie come
yeah,
out?
Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak. Like movies come out in twos. Like the other day, don't ask me why, but I watched Olympus Has Fallen, and we saw a trailer for this other film with Channing Tatum.
White House Down.
Yeah,
That's
I was
actually what prompted me putting that on my queue. It's because I was talking with my projectionist at work about movies coming out in two, and we were talking about Bug's Life and what was the other one? Ants and Armageddon versus Deep Impact. And I was like, you know what? I haven't seen Volcano in forever.
Well, I think what happened, I read an article about this actually once in Time Magazine or something cheesy, but it was about the studios do research. They all do the same research. They all buy research from the same companies that do this focus group. What do you want to see in movies? What kind of themes do you like? So if people are saying, we'd really like to see volcanoes, or we want to see dinosaurs, or we want to see space about 18 months from that focus group, there'll be 4 or 5 movies that come out in that general theme because 18 months ago, some executive got some report from a focus group company that said, people really want to see, Emma Thompson on a space station.
Fighting off a shark in space.
With a pterodactyl made of bacon.
Well, that's how House of Cards came about, because apparently Kevin Spacey and David Fincher's name were such popular search in Netflix that they just decided to figure out a way to team those two together, and we have House of Cards.
I wonder if that's the only place Kevin Spacey comes up a lot on searches.
You're always just looking to see one of those nude photos of him going to come out, huh?
No, I'm not.
This
I like to see
portraying you in such a different light, Jordan.
I know. Under Brenda, we've really gone to a classier place. I like her, the Brenda regime.
We have our pinkies up while we record.
Oh, that's so classy. What else have you been doing other than skipping work or skipping your schoolwork?
Don't call me out. I told my professor I was in a car accident. I was like,
we'll try to release this after the semester.
I didn't. I said I got rear-ended. You know, she can draw her own conclusions.
There was some truth to that.
It's only half true. But no, I've been so busy. But I did. We did watch All About My Mother this week, which I had never seen. It was when I felt ashamed that I had never seen it.
But hey, Dan, can you add in a slap sound effect at this point?
Just on it.
It's one of those movies that's like if you're really into movies, people just assume that you've seen it, and people have talked to me about it a lot, and I just play along and I'm like, oh, I know, that's great. Yeah, no, there's a transsexual. Oh yeah, she's awesome. She's so funny. It's like there's a tranny in it. I didn't know what it was about, but it was amazing. I was blown away. It was incredible.
It's one of my favorite Almodovar films, and it's one of my favorite films, period. It's actually, I think, the second film I'd seen of his. I think it came over here in 99 or 2000. The first film of his I had actually seen was Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, and that was like on VHS a few years before. And I don't think I was old enough to appreciate it. I did like the film, but I think All About My Mother kind of started my whole love affair with Almodovar. After that, I started seeking out all his back catalog on DVD and stuff like that.
And he has an impressive resume of films, and I'm glad that you liked it, and my boyfriend also liked it. He actually didn't fidget once or play on his phone. He laughed at the right parts instead of just laughing at these characters like he normally would.
For the record, Rob's dating a 6-year-old. He didn't fidget once. He was actually very engaged, and I enjoed it. It was a good movie.
Hopefully, and you've seen The Skin I Live In, so you've seen one of his other films. Yeah. But he's one of those directors that if you love foreign films, you want to support. You want to just continuously watch his stuff, no matter what he puts out.
And I like his play with gender and his. He has a very. I don't know if it's because he's European or just it's his own personal thing, but he tends to, in his movies, it seems, play with gender roles and kind of male versus female tropes. I really enjoy those.
Speaking of gender roles, did you know that Netflix this week put out a bunch of cartoons on streaming
about gender roles?
Exactly. Adventure Time, Venture Brothers,
Powerpuff Girls.
There we go. We apparently have been sucked into that world, and we're not pervy at all.
Samurai Jack.
Well, that is a good segue because Dan loves him some Powerpuff Girls, so throwing just gender roles out the window.
Samurai Jack.
He's trying to reestablish that he's a man.
No, but going back to Almodovar, I think that was one of the things I liked about him so much. And, you know, what's it called? I guess around 99, 2000 in my teens, when I really started getting into him, I just noticed how much he featured different, a different range of women or female characters. Strong ones, weak ones. But, he had a different array, and even transvestites. But there was so much range for them and so much, I guess, positivity. And I don't know, I was really attracted to that.
There's no shame in talking about transvestites. I mean, Curtis is one, and we embrace him fully.
Yes. I think we love him for that.
Is he a transvestite, or is he just... I don't know. We're going to have to figure... I'll call his gynecologist in the morning. We'll find out. We'll find out for sure.
Speaking of catching up, it's in theaters right now. No, the film from Chile that was actually a Best Foreign Film nominee at the Oscars. I ended up watching this weekend. I really liked it. I think we're starting to see more films out of Chile as opposed to just Argentina, Mexico, and Spain. And I think they're actually putting out a lot of really good films. And this is a really good kind of insight into their history because it has this political background.
I wonder, was their cinema kind of quashed by the fascism there? I mean, for so many years there was such government control over media and culture in Chile. I wonder if now these filmmakers are able to kind of have a voice and kind of speak more authentically about their culture specifically. And
I'm sure, but I also wonder, on our part, if we're starting to, just seek out more a diverse, set of foreign films from different countries because, like from Latin America or, or Spanish-speaking countries, we would mostly get Mexico, Argentina, and Spain. And, we're getting more filmmakers out of those countries that are different Latin American countries that are making stuff. And I think we're getting a better reception here in the U.S. for them and a better demand.
Anybody else been watching anything? Did you guys watch Walking Dead?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Dan?
I read the comic books.
Well, the season finale happened this week,
What happened, Rob?
and it did not happen at all like in the comics.
But they've
That was Dan giving a sad face.
they've deviated somewhat from the comics, so that's to be expected. But I did find it underwhelming.
Really? I liked it a
season
lot.
finale?
I liked it a lot. At least it was better than. I'll get closer. It was better than Girls. I can say that. Not that they should be
Please
compared.
insert slap sound now. Better than Girls.
That was a really not depressing, but just disappointing finale.
You don't watch Girls not to be disappointed. That's the whole point.
No, that is not.
No, it's about being disappointed about being
A girl.
angsty white 20-year-old girls, which is why Curtis and I love it so much. Because we go down to the vintage shop and we buy mismatched patterns, and then we
Sit at a coffee
we
shop.
eat Nutella and talk about our pampered
You're Marnie
lives.
today. You're Marnie today.
Were you there?
No.
I get to be a Shoshana.
I've been mostly lazy all week, but I did watch a lot of movies. I also watched Ruby Sparks from the directors of Little Miss Sunshine. That was really depressing.
Oh, it started off really cute, but I think it did kind of take a dark turn. But it ended on a like a positive note, kind of hopeful note.
Yeah, I don't think that his character really. Do you know what's it about?
No.
Paul Dano plays a writer who has a hard time dealing with his success from such a young age, and he's never really dated anybody, and he starts writing a new short story based on dreams, or this new story based on his dreams, and the girl of his dreams just manifests, just shows up. And it's him dealing with that and realizing that he has complete control over her when he types, and how he can manipulate her feelings and the situations to always work in his favor. And it's meant to be the growth of that character. I just think he's kind of a shitty character. So even though it's meant to be a happy ending, I was like,
Is this something you're recommending, or?
It was enjoyable for just laying in bed doing absolutely nothing.
Yes, that's.
I think that was the pull quote on the movie poster. Rent this on Netflix when you've broken your foot and you can't get out of bed.
Are you tired of Volcano? Watch Ruby Sparks.
Deep Impact's only on 4 times in a row.
That's why I got it. But that's.
Oh, didn't you mention the Julia Binoche film?
And I can't remember what it was about. Oh, it was a French film about Juliette Binoche, who was a writer for Elle magazine, and she interviews 2 prostitutes, and it's just how she starts seeing her life, where it's gone, considering how young these girls are and where they are. Not to say that she wants to be a whore, but she realizes that she's wasted her life in ways that just doesn't fulfill her, and she decides to take this story as an inspiration for her to better herself. It was sweet. It had a really ambiguous ending, which I normally hate about French films. I don't think I'm recommending anything today.
Nice.
These are movies I've seen, but you should not watch.
No.
I will say, speaking of prostitutes, that after All About My Mother, I am seriously considering moving to Spain and being a prostitute, since apparently if you do, you get to live in amazing apartments and wear fabulous fake Chanel suits. And you can just bum around all day and hang out with nuns.
And then just
and then end up with a job.
go work at night.
Go to
for
work.
an actress assistant.
Oh, it's amazing. And spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on plastic surgery.
Oh my god.
Okay, since we're done with catch up, we'll go into our topic, which is foreign films. Per the homework, did you guys come up with a list of some of your favorite films, favorite foreign films?
Well, one of the ones you asked us to watch was Soul Kitchen.
Yes.
And I think only 2 of us watched it. Oh, wait, I watched it with Jordan. He remembers it now.
I accidentally watched Soul Food. And
Well, that's close enough.
it seemed like a foreign film to me. So I didn't do my homework. And I'm supposed to, at this point, admit that I don't know much about foreign films. I am very much a dilettante in this area, and I've seen the foreign films that everyone has seen, and I would consider, I saw, a lot of Steve Martin films. He's from Texas. He's not even foreign. I know nothing about this topic.
Chevy Chase Canadian? I think that's who you're thinking.
I don't know. There are a lot of people who are Canadian. You can't tell the difference. They're like an American without a gun.
Well, let me recommend your first foreign film that you should watch is Ichi the Killer. It's a documentary.
Oh, he would love that movie, actually.
What's it about?
It's a sad story about McDonald's Corporation taking over North America, combined with Catholicism.
Oh my God, that sounds like the perfect movie for me.
It is not that at all.
I'm surprised that based on what I post on Facebook, it hasn't been suggested to me by some Facebook ad program.
So I watched Soul Kitchen, and it was a German film, right?
Yes.
Man, that language, you can't make that sound sexy at all.
You haven't slept with many Germans.
None, actually.
Oh, you should fix that immediately.
I think you meant 9.
9.
None. I liked it. It was frustrating at first, but I think at the end, I like how these characters, considering how shitty their life went, that they said, I'm still going to be look on the bright side, which was very unexpected.
That's very German of them.
I recommended it because I love that director, Fatih Akin. He's German, but he's Turkish descent, and he manages to bring a lot of that into his films, and I kind of like that because, being the child of immigrants, I kind of like, the duality that he brings to his films because it's a different perspective in a different country about being, the child of foreigners. This one, the main actor, I'm going to butcher his last name, but it's Adam Buzdukos.
He was so cute. That's what kept me watching the whole movie.
Isn't that the best part about foreign films is that all the men are hot and they take their clothes off a lot?
This guy gets a massage at one point, and, that's that little joke about getting a happy ending. It was fun.
Well, anyways, he's Greek, and he's also he was the co-writer of the film, so it brought a different perspective, a Greek perspective to this film. It is actually a comedy as opposed to a drama, which a lot of his other films are. But I thought it was fun. I thought you guys would enjoy it.
You know what? Another movie that I just sat around did nothing with, and when I finished it out, I started it and I wasn't sold immediately, and I was really frustrated with his character and his brother and his relationship with his brother. But in the end, it was an unexpected feel-good movie for me that I wasn't expecting at all.
Yeah, I think it wasn't like blatant. It kind of snuck up on you.
I'll say that Soul Food was really good. Vivica A. Fox really brought it, and it made me hungry, which I think is a successful film.
Rob, you want to continue with your list?
Well, that was our homework you gave us, and then you asked 3 favorite films, foreign films. And off the top of my head today, I put together The Closet, In the Mood for Love, and All About My Mother. The Closet is Francis... How do you pronounce that?
Weber.
I'll go with that.
Whatever.
He also did The Dinner Game and The Valet. I've actually enjoyed all of his films. That type of humor, it's slapstick, but also smart slapstick. I don't know if that's an appropriate way of calling it, but it's just clever in the way misunderstandings and... I liked his film. The Closet is one of my favorites because it's with what's that actor's name?
I'm trying to remember The Closet. Oh, Daniel Attell.
Daniel Attell. He plays a man whose life is so boring that his wife leaves him. His son wants nothing to do with him, and his boss is about to fire him until his next door neighbor decides to start a rumor that he's gay. It's not really gay, but because this rumor starts, it makes him much more appealing. And Gerard Depardieu's character is this big bully at work who starts questioning his own sexuality because they're calling him out for being such a bully, and he just doesn't understand why he can't be who he is, and it makes him feel like maybe he wasn't straight all along. I like it as a film. My other one was In the Mood for Love, which not a lot of my friends really like. It's hard.
I love it. I love Wong Kar-wai.
Have you watched it recently?
It's been a while. I'll admit that.
It's a hard one to get through. I bought it, and I was so excited to share with some friends and my boyfriend, and they hated it. They were so mad at us after. So Curtis and I have decided no longer to sell up a movie. We're just going to say, oh, it was okay. Maybe see what you think.
A lot of his films are kind of slow paced, so I can see that. But I mean, I think they're still enjoyable. It does deserve a rewatching, though.
My last one was All About My Mother, which we discussed. It's Pedro Almodovar's film that year won Best Foreign Film. It's my favorite of his. His most recent one, which Jordan has seen, I love. That twist in the end, The Skin I Live In with Antonio Banderas.
It's amazing.
Yeah, talk about a movie that just hits you out of nowhere.
And his movies are so artistic and just so rich. The colors and just the way that he frames a shot. I mean, he's amazing what he does. And that was one of the best things about The Skin I Live In. It's such a gorgeous movie.
Yeah, he does have a great range. And I noticed there's, of course, films that I love more than others of his, but I don't think he has a film that I dislike.
I do.
Really, which one?
I'm not a fan of Dark Habits, or what's that other one? Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down.
Really? You don't like Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down?
No, Matador. Sorry, Matador. I do not like Matador.
They were a little bit more odd, but I guess it was also the 80s, so I don't know if that has anything to do.
I think you're making these up. I love Shoelace. It was my favorite of his films. I don't know how to say it in Spanish, though. It's too many G's.
El Shoelace?
Shoelace.
Yes, yes.
I will say that Soul Food, very good movie. I would recommend it. I'm just kidding.
It's your only thing in your bag.
I have no idea. Brenda and Rob are like going on, and I'm just like counting the ceiling tiles. I have no idea what y'all are talking about. What is his new one that's coming out? We saw the trailer last night.
I'm so excited.
That one looks like a campy mess.
It looks awesome. I'm really excited. I am so excited about it. I'm so excited.
I mean, I hate to say it again.
Well, when you said the name, I was like, is it a movie about the Pointer Sisters? And of course, it's like about the song, or it has the song plays in the trailer.
But the entire movie takes place in an airplane. It's fun to see him go back to comedy like that, because his last set of films, you look at Skin I Live In, then he did before that Broken Embraces, Volver, Talk to Her. It's just, they're all so serious, and they're all great films. It's just, you want to see something fun like this. And that's been a while since he's been able to let loose. One of my guilty pleasures of his was Bad Education, only because Gael Garcia Bernal is either naked or as a drag queen in that film.
Approve of all of those things.
It's just, it's a great film
to
watch.
See.
I was actually into the other actor. I think his name is Fele Martinez or something. Yeah, I give me a tall man. He's like twice Gael Garcia Bernal's height.
No, Gael Garcia is a nice little, I would call him a pocket gay if he was gay.
He was also in No.
He's not enough of a driving force for me to go see that. Speaking
of him, what's it called? Now that you bring him up, and he was in No. He's actually a Mexican actor, but he pulled off to my ears, I'm not a Chilean, but he did a Chilean accent in it. It seems like he pulled it off, and I've seen him in other films. And now that you bring up Bad Education, he did a Spanish accent for that as well.
Well, what were your top 3 favorite films?
Well, obviously, I'm going to go more with directors, and obviously Pedro Almodovar would be number one.
She's just showing off at this point.
What's it called? Definitely All About My Mother would be... It's I think All About My Mother is like head-to-head with Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, which is a real classic to me. It's in the 80s. It's the first film of his I watched. It still holds...
Have you rewatched that recently?
Not recently. I've seen it, I think, a total of 3 or 4 times. So
it holds up really well. And it was fantastic whenever you see, was it Broken Embraces with Penelope Cruz? Mm-hmm. How she was an actress in that, and the film that they're making within the film, it's almost a throwback to that film.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of, I don't know if it's his first, it was one of his first comedies. And I think, I mean, I love all his films, but I think he really shines with comedy.
I think I was mentioning this to Jordan last night. I love how deadpan they deliver their lines. there was a lot of humor in All About My Mother, and we were just laughing. But it wasn't played for humor. It was just matter of fact the way they did.
It was very natural.
Well, one of the things I notice about his films, the ones that I've seen, is that he really has a lot of respect for women.
Yes.
And I can see that that's probably one of the appeals of his films, and especially from a male director, and from a European male, maybe that's unique. But he really respects, not only, he has a lot of gender bending plays in, and he treats it with such respect. And even in All About My Mother, prostitution plays a big part of the plot lines of some of the characters, and drug use. And it doesn't seem like he really presents it in a judging way.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's pandering either. He's just very matter of fact about it. One
of the main characters is a heroin addict, and it's kind of talked about in a way that it's not condoned, or it's not, but it's not, there's no judgment there. And it just seems like these characters get to be judged on the merits of their humanity, not by the fact that this is born a man, became a woman, this is a prostitute, this is a bad mother, this is a heroin addict. And I really like that. And it's something you don't really see in American films. American films tend to have to have a judgment made about every character.
It almost like defines that character. Like that's strictly what the character's purpose in the film is to be this drag queen or they're
a little bit more heavy-handed with the way those characters are drawn out.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to see more movies with you, Jordan, more of his films, just so you can see his range. Talk to Her is one of my least favorites, but I think it's one of his most acclaimed. It's the one about a bullfighter who ends up in a coma. Is that?
Yeah, 2 women end up in a coma in it.
And
it's about the men that love them
while they're in their coma. And there's this sequence in that film that's just so odd. There's a black and white sequence in the middle of the film about this small little man who's in love with one of the women, and he like adores her breasts, but he's tiny. Like
I think it's supposed to be like a film within a film.
Yeah, and the way the whole short film ends is with the little man climbing into her vagina and living there forever. Like, okay, that's random.
What?
I wish I had a camera for your reaction,
Holy
Jordan.
Shit. That doesn't happen in Will Ferrell movies, I'm just saying.
It should.
It should. He did a foreign film. Did you see that one?
Casa de mi Padre?
Yeah.
I had high hopes for that. And I commend him for, committing to the role and speaking Spanish throughout the whole film, but I had such higher hopes for it. I think I laughed like one scene in the whole film. The rest was just kind of like chuckles.
I see that it's his number 1, so...
I did see Nacho Libre. That was a good... No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Going back, so Almodovar would definitely be my top director, and it would definitely be a toss-up between All About My Mother and Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. Next, obviously, director-wise would be, as I mentioned before, Fatih Akin. I'm actually, the last few years I've gotten into German culture and the language. Not that I speak it, I'm just saying. So
she just likes the men from there.
I
Brenda
really
knows. She knows what Rob doesn't.
And I particularly like that element of his films that he incorporates, the experience from a foreigner's perspective. And he's been able to do that through drama and comedy. I don't think I'd have another top director, but I would have to mention Amelie.
No, Michael Haneke?
I do like him. I don't know if he'd be one of my top ones, but I do like most of his films, the ones I've seen.
How do you pronounce the director of Amelie's name?
Is it Jean-Pierre Jeunet?
I really liked City of Lost Children from him, and even Very Long Engagement. I thought that was a beautiful film. He hasn't really made anything since then.
I think the last one was a couple years ago. Micmacs, that was really cute.
Oh, I didn't see Micmacs. I wanted to see that. I think it's Jordan's turn. I don't know if he actually has.
Yes,
I don't know. I've been over here Googling like a motherfucker. So I have a question though. Like,
maybe it has to be in a foreign language.
I know that, but it seems like because I looked up a couple of the movies that I really like that are foreign, what I would consider foreign films.
From Canada.
That is a foreign country.
Well, let's stick to foreign language.
I'll scratch that off my list. No. Do I have to do my list now?
You're next.
Well, I already did. Okay, so
Soul Food's already
Soul
top
Food,
one.
number 1, Nacho Libre number 2. These all have to do with food.
Nacho Libre has nothing to do with food.
No, I one of the movies that I really enjoy, and I my taste in movies tends to drift toward the political and historical. One of my favorite movies is a German film, and I just remembered it, called The Downfall. And
that movie's amazing.
It's amazing, and it is one of it's in German. It's made by a German studio, and what's interesting about it is it's the first movie made in Germany by Germans about Hitler.
From his perspective. I mean, they tried really hard to humanize him.
Right.
And
it does a really great job of kind of showing him and his frailty as a human being, and the acting is just amazing, and the visuals are incredible in it. And I would definitely recommend anyone who's a World War II buff like me. I would definitely recommend it.
There's a lot of great foreign films that are just films in general that cover World War II. Recently, The Counterfeiters. You said you're a history buff. Once you start going deeper into the world of film, you're going to find a lot of great films that just are unknown to the majority of people that cover this.
Pearl Harbor was another realistic war movie. Just going to throw it out there. Ben Affleck, Pearl Harbor.
When does Curtis get back?
Ben Affleck's an actor.
Dan tends to talk less when Curtis. I'm just kidding, Dan. We love
I
you.
would, if that's the case, which is just true. I do remember that about you, that you're a history buff. I think you would because the whole story around it is Pinochet, who was a dictator for 15 years. There's a referendum to asking the people yes or no whether he gets another term in office. So there's this huge campaign, and they get Gael Garcia Bernal's character is actually somebody who at the beginning doesn't seem very political, but he's the head of an advertising agency, so they contact him to help with this campaign to spread the word out that everybody needs to vote no.
It becomes this. The people who bring him on, from what I can tell, are surprised that his approach is from a commercial standpoint. You're making ads that are selling a product, and the product in this case is saying no to that.
Yeah, they are initially. There's some that are taken aback about that because they have a lot of personal feelings towards him because there's a family member that's disappeared or been interrogated or whatnot. So their whole platform from the beginning was of fear and we don't need this anymore. But he totally did it from a advertising standpoint. Came up with a logo.
We should go watch it if you're free this week.
I would love to see that.
Any obligations?
Right up my alley. I enjoy anything with politics, and I like to see movies made in foreign countries about politics and about history, because American films about history tend to be made from the American point of view. Pearl Harbor being one of those notable movies that
you're just validating that has when he says things like that.
No. I'm saying that it's made with a distinctively American point of view. And Americans tend to see, and as we were talking about with All About My Mother, Americans tend to see people in very simplistic terms. And you see in movies about World War II, for instance, you don't even see characters on the enemy side even speaking, or it's just this nebulous like in Saving Private Ryan, you don't really see a very.
I'd challenge you with saying you look at someone like Clint Eastwood, who did Flags of Our Father and Letters of Iwo Jima. He decided to take the approach of making an American film essentially from both sides.
And there are American directors and there are American movies that are made that have a sensibility, but overall the sensibility is. And there seems to be that nationalistic undertone.
It's our burden for being the second largest producers of films, that we churn out all these movies that, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, it's that bottom line and focus groups and figuring out what works, what won't work, because if you're a student, you're investing all this money, you need to make sure you get a return on that. Right. Whereas other countries, even India, who produces a lot more films than we do, that's not they're making these stories and they're churning out these films that are sometimes not even big successes for them, but they just continue making them.
Do you think that the fact that other countries have more of an investment from the government in filmmaking financially has something to do with that, because a lot of movies in Spain, Britain, India, a lot of countries,
you would think that would work the
funding.
You would think that would work the other way by limiting their creative.
No, I'm saying that maybe those studios are not as beholden to commercial success, quote unquote, and maybe that does free them up to be a little bit more artistic and be a little bit more when people that are making movies like G.I. Joe Retaliation, that was your pick for the summer releases, remember? Oh my God, the movie's amazing. I think it's one of Haneke's best. When you're thinking, we need to fill X number of seats and we need to
opening weekend, yeah.
We need when you're only driven by the bottom line and you dumb those scripts down to a fourth grade level and you take, all of those things and that compromises the artistic process, I would think, much more than... I agree that Hollywood as a whole, it's tend to pick apart what a process of a film would be, and what you get on screen might not always be the original idea. But I feel that through this process on our own, whew, that was loud.
Bless you.
This process on our own, and through you, we were talking before we started recording that you feel that your taste in foreign films might lean towards more the mainstream. But I think just the fact that you're open to watching films, no matter if they're foreign or not, gives you a step up to I'm not afraid of subtitles.
You're not. Yeah, it gives you a broader perspective that a lot of people don't have, because the moment they see subtitles, they're completely closed off to it.
Yeah. No, and I think through this we'll be able to experience a lot more films, and remembering. Actually, I was thinking about that the other day, that there's a film 42 coming out about Jackie Robinson, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna ask Jordan to go with me to see that, because you are a history nut, that I think that's something that I'd like to hear your point of view from. So hopefully ourselves and our listeners, we encourage them to watch more of these films that are not as common to find as G.I. Joe.
Definitely.
Or Spring Breakers.
And it's all about stepping out of your comfort zone and kind of trying something new.
Now that you guys bring that up, it kind of brings me to dubbing, how we feel about dubbing. I personally can't stand it. It kind of takes me out of the film. I remember years ago when Blockbuster is still around, but when it was more of a commodity, my sister and I rented Belle Epoque, a Spanish film, on VHS. We get home and we were disappointed to find out it was actually a dub version. So we called them up. It turns out they did have a subtitle version. They just happened to carry both copies. So we went right back and exchanged it, it made the difference. I don't mind reading it. I feel like you kind of lose an essence of the film not hearing it in its own language. Like I've been hunting there's this German film from the 80s called Christiane F. It's a film about this girl's downfall into heroin. And I've only ever found copies dubbed, and it is a good film, but I'd love to see it in its original language.
Brenda loves her uplifting films.
I can tell it's nothing but Nora Ephron for her.
Romantic comedy.
Reese Witherspoon, what?
Do you find though that as a bilingual person, if you're watching a movie that's a Spanish, like a movie from Chile, and the subtitles in English, if that's flashing on the screen, is it usually pretty true to the...
More often than not, yes. You get, I took Spanish in high school as well, and my instructors always said, they made a point that you're actually translating ideas, not necessarily the words, because a lot of times when you translate something literally, it doesn't make sense. And there'd be times where, the inflection or like how the delivery and things like that, they don't translate as well. Like I remember seeing the film Abre los Ojos, Open Your Eyes, the film that Vanilla Sky was a remake of. I saw that at Rice Cinema with my sister and my dad, and there's a joke right at the beginning of the film, but it's translated differently because the joke itself wouldn't have translated correctly into English. And the three of us were the only ones that laughed in the theater. I think there was like a handful of other people, but that I'm assuming didn't speak Spanish, so didn't really understand the joke. So I think things often do get lost in translation, but it's still the essence of the film. I would take subtitled over dubbed any day.
I also speak Spanish, right, Jordan?
Do you really?
I know. I'm a coconut through and through, but I speak Spanish.
Oh, I learn something new every day.
I know.
Rob is El Butthurt.
Very L, but
your culo has dollar. Aww. That reminded me, I saw a movie at MFAH a few years ago. I had to write it down. Dersu Ozala. It's a Kurosawa film from 75, and it's in Russian. And I went with someone who speaks Russian. I went with a Russian speaker. And it was something, it's a movie that's very rarely screened, and it's one of his early films, and it's a beautiful film. And it's subtitled in English, obviously, and we're watching it, and I'm crying, and it's just all this bleak landscapes, and my friend is so pissed off because he said the English subtitles were so, like, paraphrasing what was actually, he's like, the Russian is so beautiful that it's like poetry, this dialogue, and there are these long speeches where he talks about nature and the essence of being human, and the subtitles are really simplifying it a lot. And he felt that really stole, and he was really upset that the people in the audience were not really getting a full effect of the film
with films
based on that.
With a film that old, it just comes down to how the company who's releasing it, how they handle this translation. You have a director like Almodovar is very involved in the process of how his films are going to be translated, because, like Brenda said, often it's communicating the essence of what's being said, but sometimes he will make sure, and who else? Haneke, I think, does that too, where he's very meticulous about how his film is going to be conveyed through other countries. Mm-hmm. So there are some companies that take pride in that, and other countries that take that film from the filmmaker, they buy the rights, like, we're just going to send this to Joe Schmo, and they're going to translate it however they translate it. So if you hopefully, you still felt an emotional reaction to the film, and you still loved it. It might not have been what your friend expected you to feel, but you something was still conveyed to you that you loved.
Right.
I don't know if you loved it, but you.
I did. I loved the movie, and it's a hard movie to love. It's a bleak film.
I'm not a fan of dubbing. No, I was just gonna say that. Luckily, now in the day and age of DVDs and Blu-rays, you just automatically have that option. And it has been years since I've been at any movie theater where they offer a dubbed version of a film.
Actually, the last film I saw dubbed, and I was surprised because it was only a few years ago, was the High Tension. It was a French horror film with Cécile de France. And I was surprised that they were offering both options at the theater, dubbed or subtitled. I was like, they still.
But that was a Dimension release, which is an extension of Weinstein Company. So when you're aiming for a market that only wants a horror film, that market generally doesn't care if it's a form. Rather it be a dubbed version versus in a traditional language. So I think that's in that case. Same thing with The Raid. The Raid, when I played The Raid at my theater, we played the subtitle version, but when it played at AMC Studio 30 the week after, it was the dub version. So
that's a really amazing movie too. It's one of my favorite movies.
It's the studio, and you seek that stuff out, and luckily they at least gave you the option to pick which one. But if I were the studio and I bought this film, if I know that my audience wants to watch this movie, but they don't like subtitles, I would release a dub version.
I do understand that on one hand, but at the same time, I feel like it's almost pandering, for the lack of a better word, to the audience. Because I understand from a marketing standpoint, but it's almost like, I think
it's business. But you were still given, as a consumer, you were still given the option of keeping it in the original language. So you're at least given the chance to see it that way.
And the audience for a movie like The Raid, which is a martial arts action film, it's going to be very different than an art house film or something very obscure, or, something like A Separation, which I saw at Sundance, and that's subtitled. It's in Farsi, which is a gorgeous movie.
Yeah, it is.
And I can't imagine. I would think that I would be distracted by dubbing if I had seen that.
You mentioned
dubbed, but
you mentioned studios just pushing out dubbed and subtitled. Something we touched on earlier today was I was looking through a box of movies at this movie/comic book store/bookstore back in Pittsburgh, and found this movie called Princess Mononoke, and that was the subtitled version. Now you watch the subtitled version of it, and there's a lot more political tones to the whole entire movie. Then I believe Disney or some company dumped a lot of money putting like Claire Danes, Gillian Anderson.
Oh, at that time it was Miramax. Miramax released Mononoke.
Mononoke? Okay, yeah.
They hadn't bought the Ghibli house yet.
Minnie Driver was in it. I mean, and it was great. They actually put money into talent for the voice acting. The problem was doing that, they also sacrificed those political tones, the thing that made it very unique besides the beautiful animation.
There's that fine line there, and I'm not going to dispute that. You want to save the what the original filmmaker was trying to convey. But I look at a house like Weinstein Company, at the time was Miramax, who released Princess Mononoke, and I appreciated that they tried to offer this film that was a small film. It was before, it was after, it wasn't the same audience as Totoro, which was the director's previous film. You're not going to try to aim for the same audience for My Neighbor Totoro or Kiki's Delivery Service. But I respect them. They also did with High Tension. You fight your battles, and where we make our voices heard is where you paid for your dollars to go see the subtitled version or the DVD release of, what's that one?
Princess Mononoke?
Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
You have both options.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now thinking about it too, if somebody's maybe dyslexic, and they wouldn't be able to read the subtitles, I guess the dub version is also an option for them.
He hasn't made the Studio Ghibli hasn't made anything that's been as adult driven as Mononoke. So all of his other films, Ponyo, Spirited Away, they're kid films. So it just, for films like that, it just makes more sense to release them dubbed. Right. If you're a fan of that house, you're going to buy the DVD and you're going to watch it in its native language. But to me, that makes sense. Just release that.
Yeah, and if you are watching, films like that with kids, they're probably not going to be able to read the subtitles as fast. So.
Oh, did you check to see when MFA's doing Latin Wave?
It wasn't on their calendar, but I can check again.
While he's checking that, can I just bring up my 3 films really quick?
Yeah, yes.
Zero time, because I'm an idiot. One of the things I was racking my brain about was trying to figure out not just 3 films, but 3 foreign films that were very unique. And I know we brought this up in, I don't know if past podcasts or like an aftermath of a podcast, but I know I brought up Bad Boy Bubby, which was...
Yes, you brought it up on our first one.
Okay. That was an Australian flick about a guy who was just stuck in the house. His mother kept him in the house, wouldn't let him leave. Not a kid's movie unless your kids love incest. But then he breaks free. And I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but it is a twisted movie, and it's a dark comedy. And when I say dark comedy, I mean it's a comedy, like a light-hearted comedy in Australia. The second one is a movie called De la Morte de l'Amor, Cemetery Man. It's really hard to explain.
That's foreign?
It's Italian.
Well, no, it's Italian produced, but it is in English.
It is in English?
Yeah.
But it's Italian produced and shot in Italy?
Yeah, we were okay. To be clear, we were kind of sticking more on foreign language films. But go for it. This is the most you've talked, I think, in any podcast. So you're on a roll.
Brenda's a snob and a bitch. I love her.
And you just broke everything. Hey guys, this is Dan, the producer. It looks at this time that we had ourselves a technical difficulty. So, yeah, let's get back to the show. Right now.
Oh, sorry guys, experienced some technical difficulties.
And so my third movie is a movie called Funky Forest, which was filmed in Japan with Japanese actors.
Is it in Japanese?
Yes.
Okay.
It counts.
It counts.
So you technically only had 2.
Hands down the most twisted movie I have ever seen. It's like a group of sketches.
Is it worse than Visitor Q or Ichi the Killer?
It is twisted. It's funny, but it's like really twisted funny. I mean, I would highly advise.
What's it called again?
It's called Funky Forest. It's about an hour and a half, I believe, 150 minutes. I was way off.
Hey Jordan, you want to download that and we can watch it?
Yes.
That's illegal.
I meant stream it on Netflix.
I'm gonna buy it on Amazon.
No, Funky Forest is. I mean, I cannot stress. Just go to YouTube, type in Funky Forest, watch the 2-minute clip, and check it out. I swear to God, you'll.
What if I type that into X2? What would happen?
What's X2?
Nothing.
Is that the sequel to X-Men? I like that one because that's when Wolverine actually stabs people with his claws.
No, it's a porn site.
Let's be honest.
Type Jessica Tandy into it and see what happens.
It goes to your profile.
It will ruin your life.
All right, next topic.
Okay, yeah, we actually didn't, I guess, specify from the beginning foreign language. But, I mean, either way, they kind of play into, I guess, why most of us like foreign films. I know for one of the things I get from it, I haven't traveled as much as I'd like to, but you kind of get to through foreign films. So that's one of the things I've always, and you get to experience other cultures.
Damn you, Curtis, for being in Paris right now without us.
Yeah, he was so committed to the topic. He's like, I'm going to France to do some more research.
We even talked about doing a Skype link up with him.
Yeah. I told him to record a little intro from the Eiffel Tower. Let's see if he actually did it.
I think he's knee deep in Frenchman right now, so I don't blame him.
He's not going to come back.
They're all Turkish immigrants anyway.
I had asked Jordan to look up the dates for the Museum of Fine Arts Latin Wave. I think it's the 5th year.
I think it's more than that, if I'm not mistaken.
What year is it? He's doing a little.
We're
typing.
Looking it up right now. It's
but the
8th year of
Latin
Latin Wave.
Year.
It's Ocho. Latin Wave Ocho.
Can't wait till we get to 10 and see if you know that one.
Diez.
Oh.
I speak Spanish too.
Do you?
Puta. And it takes place from the 2nd to the 5th of May. The films aren't actually listed on the website for mfah.org, but they do have a list of the previous films that they've shown, so it kind of gives you an idea of some of the things that might be coming up. Their calendar is only updated through the end of April, so
well, by the time this podcast is released,
it should be updated.
You guys should be able to check in on that at the MFA, and I'm sure they're going to promote it heavily. Their lineup's always fantastic, so I'll probably be there, and I'll drag Jordan with me.
I would love to go.
Yeah, if you're in the Houston area, I'd actually suggest doing some more research on local film festivals for foreign films, because I think we just missed the Palestine Film Festival. There's also sometimes a Jewish film festival. Mm-hmm. World Fest is coming up also in April.
There are tons of resources in Houston, and MFAH is really great, and it's usually free or very, very cheap.
Yeah,
to see movies there, and they screen foreign films and documentaries, things that you wouldn't necessarily see in a big cinema.
I just dress up as a security guard and walk right in. It's like, oh, I work here. Hey,
don't encourage that.
No, I don't really do that.
No.
I just dress up as Rob Arcos every day.
That's enough for all of us.
Local celebrity Rob Arcos.
Fallen celebrity.
Do you know I didn't get to list 3 things?
Oh.
I'm just saying Brenda's such a bitch. But that's okay.
I'm sorry. You made it seem as though you didn't have a third one.
She was trying to save me from myself. Well, she told me I couldn't use English language films, so that took care of my whole list. No, I'm just kidding. I mentioned one of my other ones, which was A Separation, which I really like. Yes. And I'm actually writing a paper in my anthropology class about A Separation, which is a great movie. One of my favorite movies, I don't know if it counts as a foreign film, but it's The Kite Runner, which is a movie from Afghanistan, which doesn't count. But it's in Farsi, so... that's one of my favorite movies.
What about City of Gods?
City of Gods? Oh, from Brazil?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be considered a foreign language film.
Was that in English?
No.
Well, why wouldn't Kite Runner be considered a foreign film?
It was.
I feel that you nerds are making up these rules as you go along.
I don't necessarily
because
agree.
you
I didn't know it was in Farsi.
It's in Farsi, made in Afghanistan by.
But it's made by a Hollywood studio with an American director,
based on a Afghan book.
But it's in English. The movie's in English.
No, it's 90% of it isn't. The parts that take place in California are
so
English.
Basically what you're saying is like Black Hawk Down, even though that took place in Somalia, is an American movie. I think that's the point he's trying to drive home.
I don't think he knows what he's trying to say. What are you trying to say? What are these rules?
I don't
Rob
think that
Arcos,
necessarily
local
qualifies as foreign film.
Well, okay, so if just for instance, say an Indian director and an Indian screenwriter have an idea for a movie, and the only way they can get it done is through an American studio, but they're filming it in India with an Indian cast, with Indian crew, and it comes out in Hindi, that's an American film?
I remember Kite Runner being mostly in English.
Like Mary Poppins, which was a largely, British cast, English cast, and that was...
Yes, that would be considered a foreign language film.
I think you're all full of shit.
Did your eyes just glaze over right there?
No,
because
he was rolling into his comment about us.
I think you're all full of shit because each of you have changed the rules for this 4 or 5 times. So when we do Texas films, I want you all to bring your list of favorite movies filmed in Arkansas. But as long as the second Key Grip's assistant is from Lubbock, it counts.
Okay, going back to the Latin Wave Film Festival at MFA,
we need to make sure these movies are really Latin. Right? I think some of them might have been. I think maybe someone who used to work as a janitor at Miramax might be the sister of one of the
racist.
assistant.
Are you insinuating that all janitors are Hispanic?
I think you are.
A janitor or Hispanic?
And I think Brenda needs a moment to think about that.
I was like, how did I insinuate that? You really had me thinking.
And that's the point of Movies the Podcast.
Well, going to my next point and bring the Latin Wave Film Festival again, one of the reasons I really enjoy it is it manages to bring a film from at least 8 different countries in Latin America, like a really diverse group of countries in Latin America. We were discussing earlier just how like we kind of want to see different foreign films from like not lesser known countries, but countries that aren't featured so much here. I think we usually get a lot of things out of Europe and a handful of countries in Latin America, but not so much. Let's say African countries or Asian countries. Stop me if you.
I just wanted to pull up that according to Wikipedia, it says Kite Runner is a 2007 American drama filmed by Mark Forrester.
Well, if Wikipedia says it so. Well, goddamn, let's close it down right now. I concede that Americans have something to do with basically everything on Earth, so...
Sorry, Brenda, didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're fine. I kind of forgot where I was going with that. I would encourage our audience to experience and explore as many foreign films as possible.
All 2 of them.
And as soon as we figure out what constitutes a foreign film, we'll post that on our website.
Last thing before we go, we were sorry to hear today that the film world lost an important figure with Roger Ebert. He passed away today, so hope he rests in peace.
I'm sad by it.
I'm really saddened by it. It's a huge loss to the film community. His reviews are considered some of the best out there, and so
Curtis lives by him, so I'm sure he's in Paris just wallowing in
died on his birthday.
Oh wow!
I know.
That's terrible.
Curtis's birthday killed Roger Ebert.
Well, on that note,
I'm gonna alert Interpol right now.
Thank you.
What's our next topic?
Next topic. Is summer releases?
Yeah, summer releases,
which will be coming out in late October. But we need to decide right now what constitutes summer.
The summer, it's coming out in the summer months.
Is November a summer month? I don't know.
Some might Texas, in Texas, it kind of is.
Let's check Wikipedia. I'm just saying.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll look forward to recording and you guys listening and giving us your feedback. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Later.